Do you ever feel like you're drowning when you're having conversations in a foreign language? Then stick around and we'll talk about conversation islands so that you can make your talks with native speakers a lot more lively and engaging. If you're new here, hola amigos. My name's Matthew. I used to work for Fluent Forever and I was mentored by the American polyglot and best-selling author Gabriel Weiner. Since branching out on my own, I've realized I just love learning languages and I've developed my own tools and techniques and I'd love to share them with you too. So how do you keep yourself from drowning in your foreign language conversations? Well, I've got the answer. The Conversation Islands technique. Have you ever had a conversation in another language that went something like this? Hola, ¿por qué estás estudiando español? Me gusta la música en español. ¿Cuánto tiempo has estudiado? 5 años. Vale, ¿cuáles son tus pasatiempos? Leer libros. Oh, ¿en qué trabajas? Soy gerente. When you're unsure and unable to give rich answers in a foreign language, then your conversation with another speaker can feel like an interrogation at the police station rather than a fluent, pleasant chat. This conversation feels awkward, it fades out, they walk away, and you're left there feeling stuck. I know, I've been there myself many times. Fortunately for us, Boris Sheckman, an experienced language teacher and author of How to Improve Your Foreign Language Immediately, can give us some answers. Boris taught for many years at the Foreign Service Institute in the United States, and in his writings, he proposes this idea of conversation islands in order to keep dialogues with other speakers more lively and more interesting. So what are conversation islands? Well, Boris Sheckman uses this metaphor of speaking a foreign language as if it's like swimming. When you want to speak fluently in another language, it's like you're pushed off land into an unfamiliar environment. The language is unknown to you, and it's like a large expanse of a body of water. As you swim across the waters of this unknown language, you become tired and fatigued, and you will surely drown if you can't rest at an island. Boris suggests that instead of trying to find and discover these islands, you can actually create these conversational islands yourself. You can make these conversation islands in advance, and you can fall back on these islands of specific topics so that you can give yourself a mental rest when you're trying to speak fluently. In a nutshell, conversation islands are short, well-memorized speeches or monologues that you can rely on and pull out when you're speaking in a foreign language. You can use these conversation islands when you need them in response to common questions and topics that you will have in the target language. So let's revisit the conversation that we had earlier, and I'll give some examples from my own life. Hola, ¿por qué estás estudiando español? Me encantan los idiomas y comencé a aprender el español hace muchos años. Tuve que vivir y trabajar en América Latina por mi trabajo. Disfruté hablando con otros hispanohablantes y aprendiendo sobre su cultura. Desde entonces he seguido aprendiendo español y otros idiomas porque es muy divertido. ¿Usas inglés en tu trabajo? ¿Qué tipo de trabajo haces? The other speaker then responds to my question and then asks me about my job, which is only natural because I ask them about their job. En mi caso, ayudo a otros estudiantes de idiomas a alcanzar la fluidez con herramientas y técnicas que desarrollé. También grabo algunos vídeos en YouTube para ayudar a las personas a aprender idiomas de manera efectiva y por su cuenta. Comparto mi experiencia personal también mis consejos y investigaciones. Espero que a los demás les gusten. ¿Y tú ves vídeos de YouTube? Wow, what a conversation. Very rich and very diverse, fluent, and with a lot of meaning and content. Each of the islands that I used are sentences and phrases that I can reel off when I need them in a real conversation. I won't need to think too much about creating a new response each time I meet different people because a lot of that information about myself, my job, and my interests are always the same. And if you think about it, in your own native language like English, you probably have a lot of scripts in your head about yourself, your interests, your job, your family, and your hobbies, and other things that you often speak about. They're all in your head and you often say the same things over and over again. So why not do these memorized mini speeches as well in your target language? It'll help you be a lot more fluent, it'll help you gain more confidence, and you can use these conversation islands so you're not drowning during a foreign language chat. Now it's your turn. Here are the action steps for how you can create your own conversation islands. 1. Identify common topics. Think of topics you often mention in conversations, such as your self-introduction, your job, your hobbies, your favorite places to go. 2. Create short monologues. Write out short, memorized speeches for each of those topics and keep those scripts clear and simple. 3. Practice regularly. Practice these responses until you can say them fluently and smoothly without too much effort. 4. Expand over time. As you gain more vocabulary and confidence, start expanding and refining your islands or your memorized speeches. 5. Include follow-up questions. Add questions at the end of your short speeches for different topics so that you can keep the conversation going. For example, you could ask, ¿Y tú? And you? Or, oh, ¿cuál es tu opinión? What's your opinion? You might be wondering, what are the common topics that I can make conversation islands for? Now, here are some common topics that you can write some short memorized speeches. Talk about yourself, so you can give a standard self-introduction. Talk about what you do for a living or what you're studying if you're still at school. You can also talk about favorite places you've traveled, where you live and what it's like there, such as the famous foods and sites and places to go. Your hobbies and interests, your favorite books, music and movies, how long you've studied your language and why you're studying it, and whatever else you just enjoy talking about. So those are the most common topics that you're likely to talk about with your islands or your short speeches. But now you're probably wondering, what am I actually going to say for each of these topics? Well, I like to be helpful and I've made a free resource just for you. Go into the description and you'll see a link. You'll find free templates of conversation islands where I've written in English and other languages what you can say for each of those topics. All you need to do is fill in the blanks. They're a great starter as conversation islands, and over time you can expand on them and add more details. So again, go to the link in the description to grab those free conversation island templates so you can start speaking fluently and with more confidence today. So just to be totally clear about what a conversation island is, I want to give you some examples in English and other languages of what they actually are. Let's start with self-introduction. In English, this could be your short memorized speech. Hi, my name is John. I'm from Canada. I'm 28 years old and I work as a software engineer. I really enjoy hiking. Nice to meet you. What about you? Where are you from? Similarly, in Mandarin Chinese, you could use this conversation island. 你好，我叫约翰。我来自加拿大，我28岁，我是一名软件开发人员，我非常喜欢徒步旅行，很高兴认识你，你来自哪里？ Now here's a conversation island for speaking about what you do for a living in French. Je travaille comme graphiste dans une agence de marketing. Je travaille là-bas depuis 3 ans. Mon travail consiste à créer du contenu visuel pour les publicités et les réseaux sociaux. J'aime beaucoup l'aspect créatif de mon travail. Est-ce que vous travaillez aussi? Que faites-vous? Now here's an example of a conversation island about your hobbies and interests, and I'll do it in Filipino Tagalog. Sa aking libreng oras, gusto kong tumugtog ng gitara. 5 taon ko na itong ginagawa. Talagang nakakatulong ito sa akin na mag-relax. Nagsimula rin akong mag-aral ng photography. Ikaw naman, ano ang gusto mong gawin sa iyong libreng oras? Whew, now those are some really great conversation islands in different languages, and as you can see, you can talk about a variety of subjects and you can memorize these short speeches because you'll talk about them often. And when you memorize them, it'll actually help you to become fluent. Of course, you're not a robot and there are various situations. These islands can just be a basis for you to have fluent speech. You can modify them, be flexible, and that is going to happen when you encounter different people and situations. But it's always great to have a foundation of what you can talk about, so you can swim in that dangerous and unknown territory of a foreign language without drowning. Don't forget, you can download your free Conversation Islands templates in English and also some other languages. And I've made that for you so you can get started right away.